Sir, the need today the government has to address is not about these short-term policies, is not only about what is happening on a day-to-day basis. What is urgently required is that the government come out with a 50-year roadmap. They come out with a vision that this country is going to have to take care of the energy needs and the energy security of this country. And I think the biggest failure of this government, apart from what my esteemed colleague mentioned earlier, is that this government is devoid of the big picture. This government is completely unable to make a plan which will address the energy security of this country. And I think it is time the Coal Ministry, in consultation with the Planning Commission, the Environment Ministry, comes out with a solid plan which will take care of the energy needs of the country. After all, cheap power, cheap coal power, sir, is the cornerstone of the economic growth of any nation. If you look at the growth in Europe, of UK and Germany from 1900 to 1950, if you look at the US from 1940 to 1970, or even China in our neighborhood from 1980 to 2010, the growth was fueled and driven by cheap coal power. And that, I think, sir, will have to be the cornerstone of India's growth. India, with the fourth largest reserve of coal, is today in a situation where 100,000 megawatt, 1 lakh megawatt of power is in various stages of development. Projects are stalled, banks are in dire crisis, rising NPAs in the banking system will kill the whole banking sector. But this government has no vision, this government has no plan how they are going to address the need of coal for that 100,000 megawatt of power. And the nation is faced with huge power cuts. We in Delhi or Mumbai are probably privileged to get power, but rural India, large parts of India are suffering from huge power cuts because of the failure of this government even to hold a FSA committee meeting in the last 12 months. Sir, what we need to look at is the myopic policies of this government which have led to this situation. We are headed towards an unmitigated disaster, sir. There's likelihood of significant part of the power generation projects under construction or development becoming stranded or stalled for lack of fuel supply agreements. Based on the government linkages, people have invested money in power plants, but Coal India Limited, the main 85% of coal comes from there. They have failed to even meet their targeted production. They are in fact falling in production year on year, and we expect coal to be available for these power plants. The Prime Minister called a big meeting. The officials of the PMO were given the task of sorting out these problems, but I think 3 months have passed and nothing has come out of all those meetings. Today, we have a situation where even in an optimistic scenario, the domestic coal production from CIL will not go up beyond 450 metric tons by 2016-17. Captive mines are estimated to produce 82 million tons by 16-17. So overall, we'll have about 532 million tons. As against this, the demand, not on an optimistic but a very conservative basis, will be nearly 817 million tons by 16-17. So we are clearly looking at a shortfall of 285 million tons, sir, in the next 4 years. And 285 million tons, if that has to be met by imports, you can imagine the colossal demand-supply mismatch in the overall world supply of coal. Even if we have to import this coal at a conservative price of $100 a ton, we are looking at a $30 billion ton outgo, which will completely ruin the balance of payment position. Trade deficits will rise, the rupee will devalue further, and the cascading effect of that and the inflation that will cause with rising power costs is going to be absolutely impossible to sustain the kind of growth that this government is projecting. But when we go out in the international market to import 285 million tons, sir, the price will rise exponentially. And I don't see the price sustaining at $100. And if that goes up to say $150 level, just imagine the kind of crisis that India is going to be faced with. And look at the cost of power. We'll have a situation where power from coal, which is today hovering around 2.5 rupees a unit, will go up to 6 rupees a unit. With rising interest costs on the one hand, rising capex of projects because of delays due to the inefficiency of this government, and the need for imported coal, which has been acknowledged by the Prime Minister's office in that last meeting. We are in a situation where coal, power generated by coal, will go up to 6 rupees a unit. And all this after having the world's 4th largest reserve of coal, sir. It's a very sad day. There's complete lack of decision making of this government. The policy paralysis that the whole world is talking about is evident starkly in the Ministry of Power and the Ministry of Coal. And I think this failure of this Ministry of Coal is going to cost the country dear. It has taken India back 10 years between the Ministry of Coal and supported by the inefficiency of the Ministry of Environment, acknowledged by the Ministry of Coal in their annual report, where they've said there are over 200 environmental clearances which are pending, which they cannot sort out between the governments. We have a situation that coal mining is stuck, new exploration is stuck, and power projects are stuck. The only thing this government is good at, sir, is allocation of coal mines post-haste, without even following a due process or without any outlined guidelines based on which coal mines should be allocated. Many earlier speakers have highlighted that. I will not go into the detail. But there are two details which have not come out in the earlier discussion, sir. One, when they allot captive mines, the allocation of mine, the size of the mine, is disproportionately high compared to the requirement. And that's one way where the scam gets hidden, that, oh, we've given a mine for cheap power for the state. But the disproportionately high reserve is where the scam lies. And the second, sir, is the allocation of mines to state governments and state companies. The method in that, sir, is the mine is allocated to the state or to a state corporation. They enter into a JV with a private party and in effect pass on the mine to a private party without following any due process. And that, sir, is where even the government allocated mines need to be scrutinized in great detail. The entire allocation of mines from 2004 to 2009 need to be scrutinized all over again. The coal controller himself has acknowledged that only 28 or 29 mines to date have been exploited or have been taken up for production out of almost 195 blocks. And the government says we have cancelled 25 allocations. I went through that list, sir. It's on page 94 of the Standing Committee report. I fail to understand how some mines are cancelled after 10 years, some are cancelled in 2 years. And with all of this, there is no process. What about the 160 odd mines which have not yet been started? What are they doing about that? What about the 58 recommendations for cancellation since January which have not been acted on? No show cause notice, no action on all of that. I think the Supreme Court is going to come down heavily. They have already stated that allocation of natural resources is the right method, and this government will have to review all these allocations before the CAG report comes out. I think, like the Prime Minister mentioned, there could be some foreign hand in the nuclear protests. I'm wondering whether starving this nation and its power plants of coal also is the handiwork of some hidden hand which this government is protecting. And I think it's high time the coal ministry, in consultation with power and environment, made a visionary roadmap to get the country out of the mess that they have brought us in. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Golji, thank you.